What's going on, guys? It's the Unhinged Engineer, back with episode 8 of my grad school vlog. So if you can't tell just from looking at me, things have been pretty wild for the last 10 days. I think it's been about 10 days since I uploaded the last vlog episode. In the previous 2 vlog episodes, I talked about half of one of the projects each. Because for one half, I was just kind of making incremental progress and starting to work on the midterm. And the other one, I closed out the project and talked about everything end to end, how it all went, what I got, stuff like that. This week, by contrast, or I guess week and a half, I completed the midterm, an entire other project, and a problem set, and watched a couple of lecture sets as well to go along with that. So, it's been a lot. I've also had a lot of other things going on in my life, so sorry for the, more spread out vlog episodes, but we'll have a lot to talk about today, so I'm super excited. Again, in case you can't tell from looking at me. So I guess we should start off with the midterm. That's a logical place to start. I spent about the last 2 weeks, maybe 2.5, preparing for this. And what that mainly entailed of was rewatching all the lectures and doing all the problems in them. I mean, the problems in the lectures were pretty basic, but it was good to do each thing one time again, just to refresh my memory. So keeping notes of how to solve the different problem types, going through the lectures, taking notes again on all the content and stuff. And then after that, doing the same kind of deal for the problem sets. I mean, obviously I ignored the code parts of the problem sets because, as I'll get into when I describe the structure of the exam, it was basically all just written, right? So it wasn't really much point in re-implementing all the algorithms myself from scratch. I mean, obviously I would have remembered all the concepts really well again if I did that, but it just wasn't worth the time compared to other things. So lectures, problem sets, what else? Oh, supplemental resources. They did offer some links to articles, links to YouTube videos, links to extra problems, and I went through and I did all of those as well. They had a pretty good spread when you consider including the additional ones. So I definitely think, it was overkill, but also I did well. And if you do well on the tests and having studied for it, you can't really look back and call it overkill, right? That's not really fair because you probably did well because you studied. So I was happy with how that turned out. I got a 90 on my first attempt. So you did get 2 attempts. There were 20 questions that were either multiple choice or free response, writing your final answer. 20 questions, you get an hour, and you get 2 attempts. Take the best score, right? I got a 90 on the first attempt, so 18 out of 20. One of the 2 questions I got wrong, I kind of thought was BS. I feel it was subjective how you were supposed to interpret the diagrams, but whatever. And then the other one, I just genuinely didn't know. There were some interesting questions in there too. Questions about statistics and hypotheticals with different algorithms, stuff like that. So overall, I found the midterm fine. I mean, I said this before the midterm, and it's still true. I think the best part of this project, and probably of this entire degree, if my intuition is to be trusted at all, is going to be the projects and the work you produce and the stuff you have to actually go and implement yourself, right? And that's still true after the midterm. It didn't bring me any beautiful epiphanies that I'm going to go out and win a Nobel Prize or something, Fields Medal. But it was fine. It was good enough to review through everything and just reinforce the concepts. And I don't think they were out to murder anybody. I think it was a fair exam. They did a good job setting it up, and I think the scores in the exam were good too. I forget what the median was, but people did fine, which is weird because I heard rumors that people usually took the exam pretty hard. So maybe I just got lucky and they lightened up the semester. I don't really know. Either way, midterm is in the rear view, and I'm very happy with that. I guess before I get into the next project I did, I'll talk about some of the lectures I watched and the problem sets I did. So basically the next 2 topics were search and a PID control project, right? So search and PID control lectures. The search project is huge, and it's worth the most out of all of them. And I want to say it's due end of March. Right now it's March 4th as I'm recording this. So I think that's due end of March, but we're supposed to start it as soon as possible, and I intend to. But yeah, I mean, it's like Dijkstra's algorithm, dynamic programming, A-star, nothing really crazy. Nothing that if you've worked in like motion planning or even just taken some computer science courses, you probably haven't done before, right? So yeah, I mean, the lectures are fine. I'm sure the project will be a lot more in-depth given the size, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. I honestly have not looked at the project for it at all yet. But the other one was about PID control. This was an interesting approach to PID control. I mean, I have lots of opinions because, I studied aerospace engineering in undergrad, and we really got into it from like a calculus and physics perspective, classical control theory, Laplace transforms, all that jazz. And this was definitely not that. This was more of a computer science approach. And what I mean by that is basically like, here's like a rough framework for an algorithm that works. And then, given that you tune it and you adjust these quantities accordingly, right, it will perform mostly within bounds, right? And then on top of that, they gave us this thing called coordinate ascent, kind of like gradient descent, but a little bit different. They also called it twiddle, so like twiddling the factors, which effectively was like a pseudo-deterministic way of tuning different parameters for your PID controller. That was probably my favorite part of the class because I'd never done that before. Honestly, what we would do in school is like we would build out the control system and then tune it like manually. Like if there was too much overshoot, you'd increase your integral term. If there was too much drift, you would increase your integral term. If there was too much overshoot, you would increase your derivative term. Right? Yeah, I remember right. I'll have to review all this again. But yeah, I mean, despite not having a perfect understanding of all of it all over again, like I did in undergrad, the project was pretty weird. It was kind of like, it was like a half project, like I said, worth half the credit of the other ones. Basically, they gave you this weird quad rotor drone control environment. You had to like tune things, right? So the main part of it was the twiddling, was the coordinate ascent. And yeah, I implemented that straight like we did in the lectures and got an 89, I believe. Yeah, 89. Also kind of, happy with that and put it in there. In case you can't tell from me talking, I have had a lot going on lately, and so I've kind of had to be more strict with how I, manage my time. So, at a certain point, I got a 90 on the midterm, and I got almost a 90 on the project. I was like, I'm done with this. I'm moving on, right? And moving on to other things that I've been doing, some of which are engineering, and others are more like personal stuff, right? But yeah, I mean, all in all, the project was fine. I don't really think I got as much out of it as I did on my first go of PID control. And, in the future, when I go and I build projects and stuff with PID control, I'm not going to be like, oh boy, I did this in my AI for robotics class. Let me just go use those notes. Like, it definitely was not up to par, in my opinion. Not to be harsh, but yeah, I mean, I could at some point in the next couple weeks, like go and do a full video on the PID control project. But I think what's going to happen now is I'm going to switch gears to search and just go all out on that. And search is going to be pretty huge. I'm also going to start doing the SLAM lectures, which I'm very excited about SLAM because that's something I have wanted to know for a while now, and will need to know for certain projects I'm planning to do. So yeah, more likely than not, my focus is just going to shift towards those newer topics. And so yeah, trying to think if there's anything else. No, I don't think there is. I think that's everything I want to talk about: the midterm, the new problem sets and lectures, and the mini project, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, all in all, I'm still enjoying the class. I know I sound a little drained right now, but yeah, I still am enjoying this class. I'm still enjoying the program. I just think with juggling a lot of different things, it gets hard to really sink your teeth into all the topics as much as I'd like. Earlier when I was doing the particle filter or the Kalman filter, it was kind of all I was doing. So I really sunk my teeth into it and got a deep understanding. And I'm grateful that Dijkstra's and PID control are things I've done a million times. Maybe not a million, but enough that I'm confident I understand it, even if I butchered my PID parameters earlier. So rip me there. But yeah, there are things that I'm confident enough in that I can kind of just do it, get it over with, move on, and feel like I'm, it's still worth doing to some capacity, right? But yeah, so I guess that's one thing to keep in mind is like, even if I could do 2 courses at a time, am I going to get as much value from each if I'm divided between the 2 half the time, right? And like, that's a real question. So if you're going to take 2 classes at a time, like, should they be 2 classes you really care about, or maybe one you care about and one you don't as much? I don't really know the answer to that question, and I'll obviously share it with you when I do, which is kind of the policy on this channel in general. So, okay. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. If you made it to the end, I'm the Unhinged Engineer. I make professional development and some technical content for like young engineers trying to work in tech, defense, AI/ML, aerospace engineering. Basically, if you're trying to work in cool technology and build cool stuff and lead an awesome career, and you're young and new at this like me, this is probably a channel for you. So if you want to just, either get some decent advice from somebody who might be a little bit further ahead of you or behind you, who knows, or you just want to hear somebody like bitch and moan about how hard it all is, then I am definitely the channel for you. So yeah, please like, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.